p.m.
All right, I'd like to call our meeting to order, and I'm going to ask Commissioner McLaughlin to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, God, indivisible, with liberty. Okay, will the secretary please call roll?
Commissioner Carpenter,
Here, yes.
Commissioner Christie,
Here.
Commissioner Cornelius,
Present.
Commissioner Hardy,
Here.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Here.
Commissioner Pena Sarmiento, Commissioner Shipp, Vice Chair Marashi,
Here.
Chair Rush.
Present.
Chair, you have quorum with Vice Chair Marashi attending via Zoom.
Okay. Before we begin, I'd like to remind my fellow commissioners to turn your microphones on when speaking and off when not speaking. And if I could ask everyone to mute their electronic devices as well. Please place a microphone 4 inches away from you. Thank you. Members of the public may attend Historic Resource Commission meetings in person or virtually via Zoom. I now invite the Commission Secretary to describe the way the public may access and participate in this meeting.
Members of the public may attend Historic Resources Commission meetings in person or virtually via Zoom. This meeting is being live streamed via our portal, www.santa-ana.primegov.com/public/portal, and to YouTube, www.youtube.com/City of Santa Ana videos/live. If you would like to provide a public comment, you may do so in the following ways. Join the meeting via Zoom. Enter meeting ID 820-131-53364 when the item you would like to comment on is being discussed. Select the hand icon to let us know you would like to speak. You will be called upon by the name you entered. Call 669-900-6833. Enter meeting ID 820-131-53364. When the item that you would like to comment on is being discussed, press *9 to let us know you would like to speak. You will be called upon by the last 3 digits of your phone number. After you're called upon, you must press *6 to unmute yourself. For those who are attending this meeting in person and would like to provide a public comment, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. All speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. I will alert you when your time is up.
Moving on to public comments on non-agenda items. Madam Secretary, does anyone wish to speak?
If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on non-agenda items, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you're calling in and would like to comment, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve item A, minutes from the July 7th, 2022 meeting? Item B, excused absences, if any, and item C, historic property preservation agreement number 2022-05. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept all items.
Who made that motion?
Commissioner Marashi.
Okay. However, Commissioner Christie is asking that item, the third item, if I understand you correctly, you want to pull that from the consent
Right.
calendar?
Mhm.
For discussion.
For discussion? Okay, do we discuss that now, Madam Secretary, or?
If you can, please vote on the consent, and afterward, you can also discuss item number C after.
Okay, so let's, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Again, removing the third item from the consent calendar. Do we have a second? That's what I'm,
Second.
we have a motion that was made by Commissioner Carpenter. Who made it? Somebody did.
Commissioner Christie.
Christie, sorry. Christie did, except pulling the third item.
No.
So there-
Commissioner Marashi will second.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We're withholding the third item for later discussion. Madam Secretary, you want to do a roll call vote?
Commissioner Carpenter? I'm sorry?
This is to approve the consent calendar without item number C, which will be discussed subsequent to this vote.
Commissioner Christie?
Yes.
Commissioner Cornelius?
I'm abstaining as to part A on the approval of the minutes because I was not present at the last meeting to approve the minutes. But I approve as to B and C. That's appropriate.
Wouldn't that be an abstention period?
Just for this period, just for the consent counter, matter A.
You can actually vote to approve. You're not actually voting to confirm the content of the minutes, just approve putting the minutes into the record. So
Okay.
if you know that you can approve rather than abstain if you feel comfortable with that.
Abstention, aye.
Commissioner Hardy?
I approve.
Commissioner McLaughlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Peña Sarmiento? Commissioner Ship? Vice Chair Marashi?
Aye.
Chair Rush?
Aye.
Motion has been approved with commission members Paris Sarmiento and Commissioner Ship absent.
Okay, Mr. Executive Director, do you want to discuss the item C now?
Yes, before we do that, if I may take a moment to introduce a new commissioner representing the Community Development Agency, Commissioner Daniel Cornelius.
Right. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here in the commission with my fellow commissioners. I look forward to the work we're going to do ahead of us. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, Commissioner. At this time, it would be appropriate then to move forward with the discussion. Item number 3, I believe this item was pulled by Commissioner Christie.
Okay. Is the applicant here?
The applicant is here. He is on Zoom. I saw him on Zoom.
Okay. This, with the Mills Act and that they have. And I know that Commissioner Marashi and I met with the House and we met with the, Ed, kind of unmute yourself.
It was is the main contractor working on the project.
Contractor on that, with this property. And boy, are they doing one heck of a job in the historic restoration of that particular, the property that's coming before us. And especially bringing, can we do the porch? Can you put a little pen mark, red pen mark around the porch? There we go.
I'll circle with the mouse. I can't physically make a mark,
Okay.
but what area would you like me to point out?
Of the porch especially, you see there, that they're really coming in and restoring that to its original condition, so that it would fit the classification of this Victorian style, it's this Victorian and Craftsman bungalow. And that's amazing because of the fact that normally some people want to extend that out, you know, to make it a little more, but they're keeping that area particularly and around there and the same as it was during that time period. So the reason why I'll pull it is for two things. Number one, to commit, is it Dwayne Rohrbacher? Are you on? Mr. Rohrbacher? Mr. Rohrbacher, did we see him?
Can you hear me?
You on the call?
It picked the wrong speaker. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Yes, we are doing the same to the inside. Everything is going to be properly restored as opposed to renovated. So I appreciate that.
Okay, I want to commend you and the contractors, in fact, and found a contractor that can help him with this house because they're few and far between there. But they are really taking pride just in their work in order to restore that. Well, just from an outside commenter, you know, viewing that house, you should be proud of the contractors that you hired to restore that your particular property. If they're doing it right. So my other question is, okay, now, is it key or contributed? Did it come on originally on a property register as contributed? Because it is in the French Park area? And is it now showing key or what's its designation now? Why is it showing one thing and yet it says something way back in its key? Why do we have two different classifications here?
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but as far as I know, this is categorized as key. Back in 2000, the city decided to proactively list and recommend properties for the register. So this was, well, actually late 1990s and then early 2000s. It was listed on the register in 1997, but it wasn't designated as key until 2000. So that may be what you were referring to, but so there's two separate actions that were taken on this. And the key designation came in 2000 for this
So
property.
it's now showing key.
Correct.
Okay, because in some of the papers that I read, it was still showing contributed, but I just want to make sure that it is key. as well.
It should be designated as key.
Okay, and with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move the consent item C, recommending that the city council authorize city manager and clerk of the council to execute historic property preservation agreement Millsack with Dwayne Rohrbacher and Shannon. I'm sorry, is it Kunis?
Kiwis like the fruit.
Kiwis, thank you so much for the property located at 419 East Wellington Avenue, subject to non-substantial changes approved by the city manager and the city attorney.
I'll second such motion.
All right, Madam Secretary, would you please call for a roll call vote?
Commissioner Carpenter,
Approve.
Commissioner Christie,
Approved.
Commissioner Cornelius,
Approve.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Approve.
Commissioner Peña Sarmiento, Commissioner Ship, Vice Chair Marashi,
Approve.
Chair Rush.
Approved.
Motion has been approved by majority with Commission members Peña Sarmiento and Commission members Ship absent.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, that's great. I believe this home, if my memory is correct, is the oldest home in French Park. Is that correct, Mr. Rohrbacher?
That is correct. It's the oldest home on its original foundation, which is always the caveat.
Yeah. All right,
Congratulations.
very good. Well, I know you've been laboring with this for a bit, so congratulations. And We're not hearing champagne uncorking in the background, but I suspect that will happen later.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Have a great rest of your meeting.
All right, thank you. Okay, business calendar. Moving on to the business calendar, please note the formal action by the Historic Resources Commission shall become effective after the 10-day appeal period unless the City Council holds a public hearing on the matter. Then the formal action will become effective on the day following the hearing and decision by the City Council. An appeal from the decision or requirement of the commission must be filed with the clerk of the council and a copy sent to the planning department within 10 days of the date of the commission's action. The appeal may be made by any interested party, individual, or group. Public hearing protocols. I will now review the process to the public hearing so that everyone knows what to expect. Staff will provide a presentation and answer questions from the commission. The public hearing will be opened. The applicant will be given the opportunity to speak, limited to 15 minutes. Members of the public will be given the opportunity to comment, limited to 3 minutes. The applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to comments made by the public, limited to 5 minutes. The public hearing will then be closed. Discussion will return to the commission with formal action taken to approve, deny, or continue review of the application. Please consider the following suggestions when organizing your comments. Please state your name and address, strictly voluntary. State whether you support, oppose, or are neutral to the proposal. Your statement should include all pertinent facts within your knowledge. So this is the time and place to consider item number 1, Historic Resource Commission application 2022-13, Historic Register categorization number 2022-6, and Historic Property Preservation Agreement 2022-3 for the property located at 2405 North Bonnie Bray. Please note the decision on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 calendar days. Recommendation on this matter will be forwarded to the City Council for final determination. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regard to this item?
Mr. Chair, myself and Commissioner Marashi visited the property on Saturday. We did not speak with any of the persons there. They were not there at the time.
Anyone else? I did visit the property as well, but did not speak with the homeowner. Does the commission have any questions of staff? Hearing none, I'll ask you now to mute yourselves. Have we received any written communication, Madam Secretary?
We have not received written communications. Staff does have a presentation regarding the application.
Okay. Okay, the public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Chair,
Yes.
we still have the presentation to provide.
He has a
before the public hearing.
presentation. He hasn't presented.
Well, I wondered about that because I thought, gee, but according to my script, it didn't say that. So I'm
Well,
just following along here.
Apologize for that, but we can have the staff present. the
Anyway.
item.
I
Go
don't,
ahead.
yeah,
Sorry about that.
No
I'm
worries.
just, I'm really not a robot. but-
Well, good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Thank you again. Before we move on to this first agenda, I did want to provide a refresher for the commission on the 2 categories that will be considered for designation tonight. They include the key and the contributive categories. In order for a property to be considered or categorized as key, it must have a distinctive architectural style and quality, be characteristic of a significant period in the history of the city, or be associated with a significant person or event in the city. For the contributive category, in order for a property to be categorized as contributive, it must contribute to the overall character and history of a neighborhood or district and be a good example of period architecture. The first item on tonight's agenda is a request to place the property address as 2405 Bonnie Bray on the local register and to execute a Mills Act agreement with the property owner. The property was originally agendized and heard at the July 7th, 2022 HRC meeting, but was continued to allow the HRC time to ensure that the ongoing construction on the site was consistent with the previous approval for a certificate of appropriateness in July, on July 1st, 2021. The Gibbs Waisley House is architecturally significant as a characteristic example of the Tudor revival style in Santa Ana. It was built in 1928 for approximately $15,000. According to city directories, the first owners were William Isbell Gibbs and wife Jessamine Gibbs. The Gibbs Waisley House qualifies for listing on the Santa Ana Register for, under Criterion 1 as an example of the Tudor revival style in the city. Additionally, the house has been categorized as key because it has distinctive architectural style and quality as an example of a Tudor revival style in the city. Character defining features of the house include, but are not limited to, the asymmetric massing and composition, the steeply pitched complex gable roof, a combination of brick and stucco exterior walls, and multiple tall brick attached chimneys. At this time, staff would like to provide a summary of the approved project scope under HEMA 2021-06, which again was approved by the commission in July 1st, 2021. The exterior modifications consisted of additions to the first floor, the basement, and a detached garage, and the construction of a pool and spa and 3 detached structures. For reference, staff has included the HRC approved drawing exhibits, which include the approved site plan, the floor plans, and elevations. On this first site plan, we have the areas identified as the proposed addition and the areas as proposed accessory structures. So these were all within the scope of what was approved. So here we can see that we have the existing residence. We have 2 areas of single story additions, a covered porch, and then an extension to an existing garage. And these are accessory structures that were approved by the commission. On this slide, we have the approved floor plan. So it provides a little bit more information on the closer image to show that the additions were for a kitchen, a bathroom, and then just to accommodate more area in the garage for larger vehicles. Again, there was a wraparound porch covered that came across the rear. The area of the addition to the residence was approximately 446 square feet for all of the expanded kitchen, basement, and the bathroom. And the covered porch was approximately 340 square feet. Here we have the slide for the approved elevations along the south elevation. And this would be Bonnie Bray. And then the approved elevation along the Benton Way, or the east elevation. So just to kind of highlight, it's kind of hard to see here, but we have the existing residence. And then the area of the addition is highlighted here on the left. And on the Benton Way, you can see that the addition is highlighted here on the right. And on this slide, we can see the approved west and north elevations. So you can see that the addition is shown here. This is the kitchen area. And then you can see part of the patio and addition for the bathroom along the north elevation, the rear. These next couple of slides show the existing conditions or the ongoing construction as of August 30th. These were taken by staff just to document the construction happening and to show that the work is consistent with the approved plans. So the first elevation is again on Bonnie Bray. So you can see that there is existing residence and you see the addition back here. The addition as approved by the HRC was set back 15 feet from the front elevation of their existing residence. So here's a closer image of that addition. This is again the kitchen area. And then a more true west elevation of that same kitchen. These next slides show along Benton Way. So you can see that this is the bathroom addition and part of the porch cover. Again, along Benton Way, the east elevation of the bathroom. And then a closer image of the bathroom and then wrap around for the porch. With the information that was provided at today's meeting and the information provided in July, on July 1st, Staff recommends that the commission adopt the resolution to approve HRCA 2022-13, HRC 2022-6, and recommend that the city council authorize HPPA 2022-3. That concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. I do want to note that the property owner is in attendance if there's any questions that may need to be directed to him.
Okay, does the commission have any questions of staff?
I have a question. You may have noted it, but what was the purpose of the exterior modification?
Thank you, Commissioner. The applicant wanted to extend the area of a kitchen and then a bathroom addition taking place from a den. So they just needed more space. The homes designed in the time didn't provide enough area for kitchens, and now to accommodate a larger family, more use, they wanted to expand the kitchen.
Thank you.
Pedro. I have a question. If you can go back to the front part of the building of the residence. There you go. I think I'm looking at that. You see how the roof comes down and sways around? You see the edge of the roof? It's kind of like a bell or S shape going through. And if they're going to be adding an addition to a historic building, what's the fine line as far as them coming in and matching exactly the same bell? Because if you look at the addition there, it's not coming down. When we were looking at it Saturday, it's not coming down. It's just straight lines. It's not matching the overall shape of roof line that's there.
Sure, that's a great question, Commissioner. I do want to remind the commission that the topic for today is the listing in the Mills Act. We provided the information about the construction for reference only because the commission's already taken action on that, but I will answer the question for you.
Okay.
As part of what we look at for certificate of appropriateness and exterior modifications, there's a set of standards that we look at. Those are the Secretary of Interior standards. In those standards and in the guidelines, there's notions about not recreating a false sense of history. So when we have someone working with our staff when wanting to do an addition, we advise them not to create an addition that looks exactly like what was there before, because we don't want that false illusion that this might have been original. That's kind of what prevails with some of this stuff. Instead, we ask the additions to be compatible. And this design is compatible, but distinct enough to have someone recognize that it is different and clearly not part of the original addition
Okay,
or construction.
thank you. I needed that clarification because of the fact that when you're looking at it and looking at the addition coming on, and I wanted to be clear, what are the guidelines here, as far as continuing that to kind of match the roof line, of that particular home. Okay, thank you.
I have a question too, if you don't mind. The pool and that additional structure, is that considered all part of this application?
The application that's being considered by the commission today, no. This was again, just reference.
Are there any other questions? Madam Secretary, have we received any written communication?
We have not received any written communication.
Okay. All right, we'll do this again. The public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Good evening. Guys hear me okay?
What's that?
Can you hear me okay? Maybe
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
Speak right up to the microphone.
How about like that? Can you guys hear me clearly? Perfect. Good to see you guys all again. Thank you for having me. I wanted to just revisit a couple of the things that we discussed at the last meeting, and address some of the specific things that were brought up. So your question specifically, Commissioner Christie, about the looking distinct.
Mhm.
It's funny, that was an educational process for me as well. I hired an architect who actually sits on the historic commission for the city of Orange, specifically to make sure I did this right. And I had the exact same thought. I said, hey, let's try and get a roof line that swoops like that. It'd be so pretty. And she said she would not take the project if I did that. And she said she was the one that introduced me to the Secretary of Interior standards. And she pointed to a couple specific things that would make it appropriate. And I've listed them off here just for everyone's benefit. One of them is clear lines of demarcation. So for example, you would never want the expanded section to look like it's integral with the existing building. Number one. Number two, you want facades to be set back from the main streets, which is why we have a jog back on the elevation that you can see from the front. So if you're at Bonnie Bray looking at it from the front, you have it kind of jogged back about 10 feet or so. We specifically put that in to accomplish that. And then the same is true with the bathroom expansion that's visible from the Benton side. And as a reminder, this is something that you guys weren't all in the loop on, but Pedro and I did spend a lot of time before we actually came to this design, and the city of Santa Ana hired a third-party architectural firm to review and make sure it was consistent with the historical Secretary of Interior standards for historical buildings. And in fact, the first couple iterations were not. So this was like try number 3 that they could get comfortable with. So it's something that is important to me as well. So we went through a process to get here. I just want to make sure everyone understands that. And then lastly, this wasn't discussed, but it's kind of relevance. The architect that I hired is very focused on windows. She really likes windows and historic windows, and made a point of ensuring that the windows that are on this expanded sections do not match, are both compatible, but do not match exactly the existing historic windows that are on the original structure. And that's to help someone who is, has a trained eye who comes out, be able to identify it as something that's different as part of an expansion. And then another thing that wasn't discussed, but I shared this last time I was here. I do intend also to remove the brick on the front of the building to restore it to how it looked when it was built first in 1929. The earliest photo we have of the front is from 1958, but we believe that is exactly what it looked like in 1929. And that's something that I plan to do here in the coming months. And that's all I have.
You forgot one thing.
Mr. Chair.
You forgot one thing.
What's that?
You cut down the tree in the front of the house.
I did, thinking specifically
See,
about
just Alberta, look at that, you know?
Commissioner Christie has mentioned, I've been this is my third time in one of these meetings, and a tree blocking a critical architectural feature has been something you brought up every time. And so we are planning to put a tree back, but not blocking the front. We're going to put it off to the side so that you can see it come up.
You need something out front because it's wide open, bare right now.
We have a full landscape plan, but we're specifically do not want to obstruct, particularly that really beautiful section where the eave comes up. So you'll be able to see that as you drive up from Bonnie Bray, as you come from Santa Clara.
Mr. Chair. Sure. Hello.
Tim.
Sorry.
Mr. Chair.
Well, is there any other question?
Yeah.
Alberta has a question.
That's okay. Mr. Mayberry, thank you. And I just, I have this memory about different things. You did mention to us, especially for my education, about brick coming down, just around that. And thank you, because of the fact that I'm here. I mean, we're ordinary citizens, making decisions on historical buildings that are here and homes. And like you said, we're being educated as far as, especially when you have one and you're adding an addition, exactly what are the standards are. I can imagine a book like that, and I don't know about you, but I don't have time to go through all of that.
Of course.
And of course, every time we ask a question, and we are learning right along with you. And it's great to know that you have your architect, is that correct?
Yes.
told you, I'll walk away if you did that. That is integrity right there to keep on what you're trying to accomplish. So thank you very much. And I've learned a lot, believe me. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Any other comments or questions? All right, thank you, sir. We'll now take comments from the public. Madam Secretary, do we have any members of the public that have asked to speak?
If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. As a reminder, each speaker has 3 minutes to speak. I will wait a few seconds. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Does the commission have any final questions of staff?
Yes, I have one final question. The total addition you said was 400 square feet? But does that include what took place inside or only the exterior part?
Thank you, Commissioner. The additional square footage was 446. There was interior remodel, but that wasn't included as part of the 446.
Okay, anyone else? All right. Is there a motion to approve this matter?
Mr. Chair.
Okay,
I move to adopt a resolution approving Historic Resource Commission application number 2022-13 and Historic Register categorization number 2022-6 and 2. Recommend that the City Council authorize the city manager and clerk of the council to execute the attached Mills Act agreement with Benjamin and Catherine Mayberry, subject to non-substantive changes approved by the city manager and the city attorney.
Second.
all right.
I would like to make a substitution motion. Commissioner Marashi, as stated, except to change the categorization to contributive instead of key because of all the changes.
Alberta.
Okay,
Alberta needs to.
beg your pardon?
accept it. Alberta needs to accept that.
Alberta, would you agree to that substitute motion?
Okay.
Alberta agrees. Will the maker of the second agree?
Yes,
Well, you're making a substitute motion, but it was seconded by
okay.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
I'd like to open the motion up for discussion.
Yeah, at this point in time, I'm going to say no, because I'd like to have some discussion on this, because
Yeah,
this is a
I'm-
big,
Okay,
this is not just a very simple change. This is a big.
right,
verb.
okay. Can we discuss it if there's not a,
So Chair, if I could clarify what's going on here. So Commissioner Christie put forward a motion that was seconded, and then Commissioner Marashi put a substitute motion forward. If there's a second for that substitute motion, then that would take precedence over the original motion, and then discussion can occur on that substitute motion.
okay, so I guess my question would be to Commissioner McLaughlin, would you agree for the purposes of discussion to second it for the purposes of discussion? We can then vote on it, yes. Is
If it's to discuss only, that's fine.
that correct? Mr.
Yes, so
City
you can
Attorney?
second the motion for discussion purposes.
Okay,
For discussion purposes, yes.
all right. Okay, so we can now discuss it. Yes, Commissioner Hardy.
I would like to start the discussion, I guess. The categorization of property, is it always, is the question to Pedro or Executive Director Min, is it always about the architecture? Isn't there research like maybe who lived there, who built it, who the architect was? Are there different elements that contribute to the categorization? And if that's the case, then I don't think it's just a simple roll it back to contributive because of architecture. So I don't know all the ins and outs, but there's more to it, I believe. That's my comment.
Thank you, Commissioner. You are correct. And kind of the purpose for starting the meetings with a refresher on the categories is for that reason. So if you look at the screen, the key category has different criterias for what would help establish a key property. And then contributive does as well. For keys, we have really, we're focusing on the architecture, yes, but it's also a property that's associated with someone of significance to the city, regionally or locally. There's that added element as well. Whereas the level of kind of criteria for category for contributive is, it could be a good example of a period architecture and contribute to the neighborhood. So there's a less level of kind of threshold for it. Really, the purposes for key or even landmark is to kind of dedicate those properties that are truly deserving of this key. And in our review and by our consultant as well, we determined that this property was deserving of a key, not a contributive.
To-
Thank you.
I have
So
a
we have
question.
the criteria, we have the criteria that says this is why we're picking this as a contributive versus key versus landmark. I mean,
Mark, can you speak into your microphone?
I'm just asking if we have considered this to be contributive. I'm sorry, key.
Well, it's key now.
It's key now.
and-
So,
and
so we had a
and-
certain criteria that got to that decision to call it key. So can we have the information? Do we have the information that we can say, here, this is the reasons why we called it key?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Commissioner. So that's provided in that DPR form that's right up on the historic property. So if you look at the agenda specifically for this one, there's a narrative that's provided on the architecture. And then there's a narrative provided on the occupancy history and maybe sometimes even the contractor or architect if there's information. So based on the information that was provided and peer reviewed by a consultant, we felt that it met the definition criteria for key category. Now, if the commission felt otherwise, you're within your purview to suggest that this does not meet a key category, but instead meets a contributive. That's a decision that you would have to make, but the information is provided in that DPR form. Let me see if I can get the agenda item number for you.
I just had it. It's page one.
Pedro, for my
22.
clarification, or for our clarification, this started out as a property that was key. And the consultant that you hired believed that it should remain as key, or did it start as contributive and they wish to upgrade it to key?
Actually, I recommended contributive on this one, but the consultant came back and said this was a key property. So just for the commission's edification, so what happens when we write these DPR forms that are historic narratives on these, they get peer reviewed by someone who's meeting the standards of the state, the Secretary of Interior standards, to be qualified to review these. So that consultant comes back and says, hey, for these reasons, we believe it's a key category. And that's what happened here. Our initial assumption was that it maybe would be contributive, but they came back and said it would be instead a key.
Hey, Pedro, I have a question on that. Is all this consideration before the modifications are including that?
It's with the modification. So they considered everything as part of this original.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
So, question, is it always an either or, properties either or key or contributive, or can a property both be key and contributive at the same time?
It's one of three categories. We have contributive, key, and then landmark. So it's got to be definitely on one. It can't be two.
And then a second question, what does the property owner think about if it would change to contributive? Does the property owner have any specific thoughts on that?
Right.
I'm not sure if it has any material changes to the agreement that I'll enter into with the city. I don't think it does. I don't know, Pedro.
It doesn't. In regards to potential property preservation agreement, the Mills Act, it doesn't have any change to it.
Will it still be has a
still be
historic
a-
designation with the plaque and stuff like that?
Correct. It still is considered historic. It'd be on our historic register. It just would be a different level of categorization.
Okay, I mean,
Doesn't affect your tax benefit.
it doesn't, it's not gonna change what I'm doing in my scope of work per se, or our commitment to keep it to keep it looking the way it does over time. So
And I don't think-
I'm okay.
I don't think it's gonna impact, I mean, I think it's already in the historic document that the neighborhood is sent to SHPA and to the feds. I believe it's in as a key contributing property.
Oh, it is under the
We can-
submission for the whole neighborhood?
That can be under the submission that was made by Floral Park.
Oh. I
We can
wasn't sure.
check that. It may,
Wasn't sure if that had gone through yet.
it hasn't gone through, but it has been submitted. In other
Right.
words, it's right now with the national and the state. And it's just a matter of them getting back to the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't change what I'm doing from my end. So I'm fine with it.
So the reason I wanted to do that was because if there were no changes to the home, because of the size and the massing and that architectural style, if you opened a dictionary and looked up that architectural style, yes, I would think the home fits it perfectly. And so I'd be fine with it being key under that. But when we start having to make these subtle changes and changes where you say it can't make it look like the original, it has to have these slight differences. And my seeing that just takes the quality, and that word quality right there in the first bullet, down just the slight notch to contributive. It's absolutely contributive to the neighborhood without a doubt. I just don't know when you look at the dictionary and you see the changes to the roof line and the rafter tails and things like that, where you go, yeah, it's still key. It looks exactly like that architectural style. And that's the reasoning behind my motion. That's simple.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
I have a comment.
Well, let me.
If I may, Chair, just, I'd like to remind the commission, I understand where Commissioner Marashi is coming from, but the kind of criteria that we look at is what's on the screen. I don't know that for any other certificate of appropriateness properties that we've reviewed by the commission, that we've changed the designation based on approving an addition, right? So keep that in mind. For all of these schemas that we've approved, this is the first discussion that we've ever had about potentially changing a designation because there was an addition done. So the focus really should be on what's existing. By virtue of having a historic property, a property owner is entitled to have an addition done as long as it meets the standards. And then what we're looking at here is ensuring that when you're deciding, you can adequately look at this criteria and say, yes, without a doubt, these conditions are being met. So that's what I would recommend that the commission focus on instead of like the addition that has already been approved, if that makes sense. I'd be happy to try to clarify.
Yes, Commissioner Harding.
Yes, I found in the document, and to answer Commissioner McLaughlin's question, it says right here, I guess it's on page 3, under significance, continued. It says, additionally, the house has been categorized key because, and it has a long list of the distinctive features, et cetera. So it's right here in the document as to why it's been categorized as key.
Okay. Are there any other questions of staff with regard to this issue?
Let me add that I don't see that any of this that's described as why it's been categorized as key has changed.
Okay. Okay, so we've had our discussion. Is there any other discussion on this matter? So we're left with Mr. City Attorney voting on the substitute motion.
That's correct. The substitute motion is what's on the floor right now. So you would take a vote on that motion, which includes the changing of the designation to contributive. If that motion fails, then you return to the original motion.
Okay. Mark, are you good with that?
Well, the first is Alberta, because Alberta It's her
Well,
motion.
Taking a vote on the motion.
we're taking a vote on the substitute motion. And the substitute motion is to change the designation to contributive. So everybody understand that? Okay, all right. So Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Carpenter,
Approve.
Commissioner Christie,
No.
Commissioner Cornelius,
Nay.
Commissioner Hardy,
No, know that I do not want to change the category from key to contributive. Is that the correct answer?
Yeah, you're good.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Nay.
Commissioner Peña Sarmiento, Commissioner Ship, Vice Chair Marashi,
Yes.
Chair Rush.
No.
Motion fails with commission members Peña Sarmiento and Ship absent.
Okay, so we're back to, do we have a motion to
My original motion.
your original motion? So the original motion to approve this without any change in categorization. Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call vote?
We need a second on the original
I'll
motion.
second that.
Oh,
I was the second on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mark will second.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Approve.
Commissioner Christie,
Approve.
Commissioner Cornelius,
Aye.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Peña Sarmiento, Commissioner Ship, Vice Chair Marashi,
No.
Chair Rush.
Aye.
Motion approved by majority with commission members Peña Sarmiento and Ship absent.
Okay, all right. Congratulations, sir. Okay, the next item on our list, this is a time and place to consider item number 2, Historic Resource Commission application number 2021-28, Historic Register categorization number 2022-13, and Historic Property Preservation Agreement number 2022-16 for the property located at 1128 West Riviera Drive. Please note decision on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 calendar days. Recommendation on this matter will be forwarded to the City Council for final termination. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regards to this item?
Chair.
Okay. Alberta?
Myself and Vice Chair Marashi visited on Saturday the property, but spoke to no one.
Okay. Anyone else? I too drove by the property, but I did not speak with the homeowner. Okay. Pedro Gomez will now provide a brief presentation.
Thank you again, Chair. The second item on tonight's agenda is a request to place the property address as 1128 West Riviera Drive on the register and to execute a Mills Act agreement with the property owner. The R.C. Marshall House is architecturally significant as a representative example of a colonial revival styled ranch home. According to city building records, it was built in 1955 by builder Arthur Herrick for approximately $16,000. The house was first owned by Richard Charles Marshall and wife Fern B. Marshall. Richard managed a furniture store along Main Street, and occupancy records show that Marshalls resided on the property until late 1960s. The R.C. Marshall House qualifies for listing under Criterion 1 as a representative example of the colonial revival styled ranch style home in Santa Ana. The recommended categorization is contributive because it contributes to the overall character and history of West Floral Park, and it's a representative example of that colonial revival styled ranch architecture. Character defining features of the R.C. Marshall House include, but may not be limited to, the horizontal massing and composition, the combination of exterior materials, including the shakes, brick, stucco, and wood, the steel fenestration, decorative window shutters, the window, the surmounting window on the west front entry, and then the diamond pane casement windows as well. Staff recommends that the commission adopt the resolution to approve HRCA 2021-28 and HRC 2022-13, and recommend that the city council authorize HPPA 2022-16. That concludes staff's presentation. Homeowner is present tonight if there's any questions directed to her.
Okay. Does the commission have any questions of staff? All right. Have we received any written communication?
We have not received written communication.
Okay. The public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on this matter?
Hi there. I'm Marnie, and I'm actually from a historic neighborhood in Whittier. I was born and raised there. So 2 years ago, I purchased this home with the intent to move into another historic neighborhood. So I just want to let you know that I love the home. It's a storybook, you know, original home from the 1950s. And I have very much pride of ownership of the home. And I love my neighborhood.
All right.
So that's all I want to say.
Does anyone have any questions of the applicant? Alberta?
Mr. Chair. Okay, hi, how are you?
Thank you.
Couple of questions.
Sure.
Okay, you moved 2 years ago, purchased the home?
Yes.
Where did you come from?
Rancho Mirage. Palm
Yeah.
Springs area.
Oh, my God, welcome.
Yeah, but born and raised in Whittier until I was like, you know, almost 30, moved to Rancho Mirage, and then tried to move back home. Well, did move back home, but I was looking in Whittier, and then a friend of mine just introduced this lovely area, and then I fell in love with. the
So you
neighborhood.
brought this weather with you.
I know.
It's your
I know,
fault.
we, like, there's a time in September where we start paralleling those temperatures. It's really weird for like a week, and then we split off. It's really strange, but,
We won't hold that against you.
but anyways, Pedro did make some recommendations for some changes, and I'm so pleased that you did. It was really like an investment for me, but it came out beautiful. And I'm so happy. I added a new entry, which is like a Dutch door opening with the side light. And it was approved by Pedro, and I'm really happy. Yeah, it looks beautiful.
My other question. The tree. It's blocking the view corridor of the tree. That one? Or
Yeah, I can't see the photo that you have in your hands. I know that we do have.
Did you cut the tree back? Because what we're looking at here. Okay, but coming from the other side over there, this one is blocking. You might want to, you know, clear out.
Is that the
thin out.
one that's up against the home or?
Yeah, it looks like it's up against the home, the picture that we have here.
Yeah, I know
That's
those are,
going in for our recommendation. As you can see, Pedro, that it is blocking this area. This is on 2-220. And out there, that was one of the things, like if I'm coming, it's obscuring the line of the home.
well, I
And
certainly could cut it back so it doesn't
please,
block the shutter. Apps, you know, is it the shutter that you don't want blocked?
right, the roof line, the whole area of the side of this, as far as the architectural design,
Mhm.
that you don't get the full.
Yeah, because I know I
Yeah.
have those two trees that are very wispy. I mean, they're very special to me, the two trees.
Yeah,
I actually love them, and I think it adds to the whole landscape, and I'm a tree lover, so I
just
don't want to get
cut
rid of them.
back so that as people are coming because you're going on the historic register.
Yes.
And one of the things, the qualification on the historic register is that we're able to see the building for no matter what side of the street that we're on. So if I'm walking, if your house is west, I'm facing west, and I'm heading east, I should be able to see the outline of that roof and the shutters and everything else without a obstructed view on that.
Well,
So,
I certainly can trim them.
okay, just would you, and can we replace this picture that we're having here in our That's a little better. Okay, because this one, I mean, it really doesn't do your house justice.
Yeah, that
Really
one I
doesn't.
can't
If
see. I'm
somebody's
sorry,
coming
my eyes
into
are
the-
so bad. I'm like legally blind. So
Okay.
anyways, but thank you for having me. I love the home and the neighborhood and
It's very well kept. Thank you. for that.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Nice to have young people come in.
I'm not that young, but thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak?
If you're
Okay.
attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
All right, public hearing is now closed. The commission have any final questions of staff? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve this matter and a second?
I move to approve item number 2.
You have to be.
I move to approve applicant of Historic Resources Commission application number 2021-28 for Historic Register categorization number 2022-13 and Historic Property Preservation Agreement number 2022-16 to allow a placement of categorization in Santa Ana Register of Historical Properties as contributive for the above mentioned property and executed historic property preservation agreement with the city of Santa Ana.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Alberta seconds. Madam Secretary, would you please call for a roll call vote?
Commissioner Carpenter,
Approved.
Commissioner Christie,
Approved.
Commissioner Cornelius,
Aye.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Peña Sarmiento, Commissioner Ship, Vice Chair Marashi,
Approve.
Chair Rush.
Aye.
Motion has been approved by majority with commission members Peña Sarmiento and Ship absent.
Okay, congratulations. All right.
Congratulations.
All right, this is the time and place to consider item number 3, Historic Resources Commission application number 2022-14, Historic Register categorization number 2022-14, and Historic Property Preservation Agreement number 2022-17 for the property located at 2425 North Valencia Street. Please note decision on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 calendar days. Recommendation on this matter will be forwarded to the city council for final determination. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regards to this item? Yes.
Commissioner Marashi and I visited the property, but did not speak to anyone.
All right. I did also visit the property, but did not speak with the homeowner. Anyone else? Okay. Pedro Gomez will now provide a brief presentation.
Thank you, Chair. The next item on tonight's agenda is a request to place the property address as 2425 North Valencia Street on the historic register and to execute a Mills Act agreement with the property owner. The PA Hooven House is architecturally significant as a characteristic example of the Tudor Revival style built in 1925. The earliest records show a series of occupants between 1933 and 1940. The home was sold to P.A. Hooven and his wife in 1941, who resided on the property until 1956. The house qualifies for listing under criterion 1 as a representative example of the Tudor revival style in Santa Ana. Additionally, the house has been categorized as contributive because it contributes to the overall character and history of Park Santiago, and it's a representative example of Tudor revival architecture in the city. Character defining features exhibited by this property include the steeply pitched cross gabled roof, the asymmetrical massing with the U-shaped facade, the bell cast front slope of the side gable, and you can see that here. The stucco covered exterior and multi-paned wood frame windows, including a prominent round headed window, illuminated the barrel vaulted ceiling living room, which is seen here. Staff recommends that the commission adopt the resolution to approve HRCA 2022-14, HRC 2022-14, and recommend city council authorize HPPA 2022-17. That concludes staff's presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does the commission have any questions of staff? All right. Seeing none, Madam Secretary, we received any written communication?
We have not received written communication.
Okay. All right, the public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Hi, my name's Kitty Canada, Senator Catherine on your forms. And I just wanted to say that we've lived on this street. I bought a house 26 years ago. My sister lives in this home with her 2 adult, well, they're not adults, but college age kids. We saved a really long time to be able to buy this home. We love that the previous owner lived there 38 years and did not restore or finish. It's all original on the inside. Every original window is there. Every screen that comes down is still brass. We're going to get window
Okay.
coverings and we want them to be aesthetically pleasing from the outside as well as the inside. When we bought the home, we knew the roof had a few issues. We will address those. We didn't know that. Anyway, the roof, it has some spots on it that we're going to get fixed. And we do plan to re-landscape the front yard. That was not we just bought the home in November. But we just want to thank you for letting us come here in front of you today and know that this was hard-earned money. And we just lost our mom in June, and my mom was really happy that my sister and her boys could live on the same street with us. And so many people in this neighborhood, you guys, are 2nd and 3rd generations. And like my neighbor behind me, her dad lives down the street, her sister lives next door. It's a great place to live, and it's a really good neighborhood. And we don't want great big boxes in our neighborhood. We don't want, these massive houses built. We like that the upstairs is original. Her kids are both 6'3", and we were just glad they could stand up in the upstairs. And that's all original. There's a bed that pulls out from the walls. I wouldn't let them take out any of the built-in drawers are still there. It's got in the desk, it's all original, everything in there, the tub, the sink, the bathtub. We're waiting now 4 months just for a shower. She's been showering upstairs because we have to get the right faucet and it's on back order. So I just want you to know that we really do appreciate the honor of just having this opportunity. My house up the street will never make the historic committee because somebody wrapped it in stucco, but this one was really special to us. So I just want to thank you for allowing us this opportunity. And, my mom was really happy that we could do this. So, okay.
Thank you for your time.
Do you have any questions for us? I don't know why I got emotional all of a sudden, but yeah, it's a lot of money, by the way, too, on top of everything else. Yes.
Ms. Kenneth, thank you so much because you answered my question, like what's the white stuff on the roof?
Okay,
And
well,
you-
what happened is the realtor, God love her, lives on the street too. She said that there was some,
Discoloration to the roof.
like the little prickly things that are on the shingles are coming off, and it's a 50-year roof. So of course I put in a claim because it's a 50-year roof and they wanted to give you $2,000 to repair it. So basically it was take it or leave it. So you can't fix that roof for $2,000. I either have to replace those shingles or they she had put something on there to
Yes,
make it
so what
look all
she
one
did
color.
at the time, before we bought the home, she actually put down some kind of glue and some kind of
Sprinkles.
sprinkle sand kind of quality material sprinkled over the roof to help disguise and I guess diminish that. And
I mean, she
instead,
disclosed it to
it
us, but it-
just, yeah, but instead it just made the problem, I think, a lot worse than
weird.
it could have been. Yeah, so we plan on fixing that ASAP. But thank you for your question.
Okay. The other one is, let's see. You have the side door, which is, bring the picture up again. Okay, going to the east, I guess in the porch over here. This is your front door over here.
There are 2 doors on the front
Two-
porch.
2 doors that are on there and you have just bare wood. I mean, just like the 2 by, really, there's nothing there. It's just raw. wood.
No, those are
Or-
windows.
There was an actual gap between the two, what would be the French doors. So we actually have that, our contractor actually just put a strip there to prevent the door so that we could close the door actually. And so that it wouldn't be broken into because all of the hardware on there, we just had repaired. And so that will actually be painted to match the actual door. So it will disguise that strip and go away. But otherwise, we couldn't close that door all the way because there was a gap in there on the roof part of it where the gutter meets the door area. Water had gotten down into there and had deteriorated the wood. And rather than remove the doors themselves and have something else put in, we did a repair on that area and our contractor recommended to do so. So we will get that painted.
And the door lock.
And
It's-
then,
it
and the
must.
door, and the door, and the door original,
It's original and must.
100-year-old handle as
We're
well.
waiting on a part to be recoiled so that the hinge would
It
work.
looks like it, it goes from point. You can't find a door lock like that at Home Depot.
No, and you can't get it at Muffs either. They've never seen one that thin. And I know that the Historic Society says it was built, we have records going back to 1922 is when they first broke ground on it. I guess they might not have finished the house until 23. And I know that says 25, but
And so thankfully, there are the hinges that actually lock up into the wood on
it's
the
locked.
inside of the door above and also in below where you're would go into the floor area on the other side.
Well, thank you for taking good care of your mother's
Well-
home, the home. It's been great.
It's-
The landscaping and everything. It's just gorgeous home. And
Love it.
once you get it, the other
Thank you.
things done, it's going to be a beautiful home.
thank you.
Something that your mom would really be proud
Oh,
of.
yeah.
She is.
Yeah, she's proud.
Are there any other questions of the applicant? Okay. All right, well, thank
for
you,
your time.
ladies.
Thank you
You
so
know, and
much.
that's really a great negotiating ploy is to come up and break down in tears
I don't
and,
need
you
to,
know,
you guys. You know,
I
they
mean,
were sad,
you
like,
know,
I'm
it's,
the brick. My mom lived with me for 20 years. So
Yeah.
believe me,
I'm
I'm the
just-
brick. So
I'm just kidding.
that's
I'm
okay.
just
I don't,
kidding.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now take comments from the public. Madam Secretary, do we have any members of the public that would like to comment?
If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Does the commission have any final questions of staff? Okay, seeing none. Do we have a motion to approve this matter in a second?
Commissioner Marashi would like to recommend that the commission adopt a resolution approving Historic Resource Commission application number 2022-14 and Historic Register categorization number 2022-14, and recommend that the city council authorize the city manager and the clerk of the council to execute the Attached Mills Act agreement with Catherine Canada, subject to non-substantive changes approved by the city manager and city attorney.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Is that Commissioner Christie? All right. And all right, Madam Secretary, please do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Approved.
Commissioner Christie,
Yes.
Commissioner Cornelius,
Aye.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Peña Sarmiento, Commissioner Ship, Vice Chair Marashi,
Approved.
Chair Rush.
Aye.
Motion approved by majority with Commission members Peña Sarmiento and Ship absent.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay, this is the time and place to consider item number 4, Historic Resource Commission application 2022-17, Historic Register categorization number 2022-12, and Historic Property Preservation Agreement 2022-15 for the property located at 1802 North Ross Street. Please note the decision on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 calendar days. Recommendation on this matter will be forwarded to the City Council for final determination. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regard to this item? Yes, Commissioner Christie?
Commissioner Marashi and I spent our whole day traveling on these homes. We were out there on Saturday. Did not speak to anybody.
All right, anyone else? Okay. Pedro Gomez from our staff will now provide a brief presentation.
Thank you, Chair. The fourth item on tonight's agenda is also a request to place the property addressed at 1802 North Ross Street on the Santa Ana Register and to execute a Mills Act agreement with the property owners. The Arthur A. Beard House is architecturally significant as a characteristic example of the colonial revival variant of the minimal traditional style, constructed just prior to World War II by the Santa Ana development team of H.C. Head and Roy Russell. The house was built in 1939 and was valued at approximately $4,000 according to the original building permit. Property was sold in 1940 to Arthur A. Beard, who resided on the property until the mid-1960s. Little information is available regarding the occupancy of the residence from 1960s to 2000s. The Arthur A. Beard House qualifies for listing under Criterion 1 as an intact example of that colonial revival variant of the minimal traditional style, constructed just prior to World War II. Additionally, the house has been categorized as contributive because it contributes to the overall character and history of Floral Park and is a representative example of the minimal traditional architectural style. Character defining features of the Arthur A. Beard House include the materials and finishes, including the stucco and horizontal wood board lap siding, the side gable roof with modest overhang, 3-bay nearly symmetrical facade, the multi-pane double hung windows, including the cant window bay, the central main entry with the stylized pediment, and the decorative shutters and brick chimney. Staff recommends that the HRC adopt a resolution to approve HRCA 2022-17 and HRC 2022-12 and recommend that the City Council authorize Historic Preservation Property Agreement 2022-15. That concludes staff's presentation tonight.
Okay. Does the commission have any questions of staff? All right. Madam Clerk, have we received any written communication?
We have not received written communication.
Beg your pardon?
We have not received written
I
communication.
see, okay. All right. Public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Hi, I'm Yaran and this is Tom.
Hello.
You have to speak right into the microphone.
Okay. Oh. I'm Yaran and this is Tom. We bought this home together. This is our first house that we purchased. And we moved from New York City. We lived in Queens in an apartment for pretty much the entire time that we lived in New York. Tom was there for 20 years and I for about 11 years. We had a dream to move out west so that we can surf in Southern California. And so we're happy to be living our dream. We looked for houses since September 2020 and probably looked at over 100 houses and made over a dozen offers, I would imagine. A lot. But we're so happy that we finally landed on this house that we closed on in May of this year. So very recent. And I think it was probably the third house or so that we saw in Floral Park. And we just loved the neighborhood. We fell in love with the streets and all of the different houses and, you know, everybody telling us about the neighborhood and how the neighbors really get to know each other. And we've gotten to know a few of our neighbors too. So it's just the two of us. We're both graphic designers. We appreciate aesthetics and beauty and also just, you know, the overall vibe of neighborhood. And we feel really lucky to be there.
I have 3 boys at home, 2 cats, 1 dog.
Yeah, yes. We don't have any children, but those are our fur children. Yeah, if you have any questions for us, please let us know. Thanks for having us.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Alberta.
Welcome to California.
Thank you.
From New York. And you must have looked at, we got space, right? We got room, you know,
Yeah.
to grow, especially if you're in an apartment living in New York. I can't
Mhm.
fathom on that, but thank you so much. The house is very well kept. Thank you for doing that. And then, you know, for newly, you know, buying into the area and to come in and put it on the historic resource on our register. I want to thank you for that because of the fact you're a young couple and you're continuing with the street and the historic nature of Santa Ana. So thank you for taking this step in putting the register, registering the home, and those are going to save you on your taxes on that. But thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions of the applicant? Okay. Folks, thanks for coming down. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll now take comments from the public. Madam Secretary, do we have any members of the public that wish to comment?
If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
All right. The public hearing is now closed. Does the commission have any final questions of staff? I have a question for Pedro. Given that the house is described as the minimalist traditional style with the colonial revival variant, was that the most common variant of that style?
That's a good question. I wouldn't know if that was the most.
You're supposed to
common.
know all these
Well,
things.
you know, you have the side gable variant. And so what I've gathered in my time of this is that there's really fundamentally only like 5 or 6 styles, right? And then there's variants of them, right? So for this one, I know that we've seen 2, the side and gable variant, and then this colonial revival one. So those are the only 2 I know of. I don't know if this is the most common one.
Well, there's a number of them in Washington Square.
Yeah.
I'm curious, you folks that bought the house, do you have the typical Roy Russell trim around the doors and the windows with the 22.5-degree corners instead of 45? This would be inside, of course.
So I'm not super familiar
Well,
with that.
and
Okay.
normal, most molding is cut at a 45. Roy Russell, one of his distinctive features was that he, the corners, instead of being 45, they were 22.5 degrees. So you wound up with this pie-shaped wedge between the two pieces of molding. So
Okay.
you wound up, instead of the molding coming up like this,
Oh, yes.
it came up with a dog ear on it.
Mhm.
And is that what you have on your molding inside?
No,
No?
no. So I think I know what you're talking about. We took a tour of one of the homes in the neighborhood that
Mm.
had that. One feature is that they, it has like 3 little strips.
Oh,
So,
yeah. It's
I
like
don't-
reeded molding.
Yeah, so that was
Mhm.
something that I noticed that
Mm.
I hadn't seen before, but
Mm.
as for the 22-degree, it's not, that is 45 degrees.
Huh. Well, of course, we're not evaluating the interior, so aren't you lucky? Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve this matter or in a second?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, Janelle?
To recommend and adopt a resolution approving Historic Resources Commission application 2022-17 and Historic Register categorization 2022-12. And recommend that the city council authorize the city manager and clerk of the council to execute the attached Mills Act agreement with Yi Ran and Tom Nguyen. Forgive me if I mispronounced your names. Subject to non-substantive changes approved by the city manager and city attorney.
I'll second.
Okay, all right. So, Madam Secretary, we have a motion, a second. Please call for roll call vote.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Approve.
Commissioner Christie,
Yes.
Commissioner Cornelius,
Aye.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Peña Sarmiento, Commissioner Ship, Vice Chair Marashi,
Approve.
Chair Rush.
Aye.
Motion approved by majority with Commission members Peña Sarmiento and Ship absent.
Okay, congratulations. All right, this is the time and place to consider item number 5, Historic Resource Commission application number 2022-19, Historic Register categorization number 2022-11, and Historic Property Preservation Agreement number 2022-14 for the property located at 1720 North Olive Street. Please note decisions on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 calendar days. Recommendation on this matter will be forwarded to City Council for final determination. Before we begin, do we have any commissioners that have anything they wish to disclose with regard to this item? Alberta? Okay. You know, people are going to begin to talk about you too. Oh. Okay, all right. Ed, did you want to comment? Apparently not.
No, and I
Alberta
couldn't
says
hear.
no.
Well, I couldn't hear Alberta's microphone was off.
I see. I did also drive by the property, but I did not speak with the owner. Okay, Pedro Gomez will now provide a brief presentation.
Thank you, Chair. This 5th item on tonight's agenda is also a request to place the property addressed at 1720 North Olive Street on the Historic Register and to execute a Mills Act agreement with the property owners. The J.F. Berger House is architecturally significant as a characteristic example of the gable and wing variant of the minimal traditional architectural style. It was built in 1953 and relocated to the current location in 1974. The earliest records found for the residence show a series of occupants between 1953 and 1965. However, there's little information available regarding occupancy of the residence from mid-1960s to the mid-1970s. In 1974, directories show that the property was occupied by C.C. Robbins, who resided on the property when it was relocated to the current location. The J.F. Berger House qualifies for listing under criterion 1 for its exemplification of the gable and wing variant of the minimal traditional style. The house displays the characteristic cross-gabled massing and L-shaped facade of the variant, as well as the minimalist approach to the architectural embellishments associated with the style. The recommended categorization is contributive because it contributes to the overall character and history of West Floral Park, and it's a representative example of the minimal traditional architecture. Character defining features of the house include, but are not limited to, the cross gable massing, the L-shaped facade, the wood framed multi-light windows, the decorative window shutters, the combination stucco and wood exterior, and the recessed entry access from an open partial width porch. Staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution to approve HRCA 2022-19, HRC 2022-11, and recommend that the city council authorize HPPA 2022-14. That concludes staff's presentation.
Okay. Does the commission have any questions of staff?
It's the applicant. Is the applicant here? Do you know?
Online.
Or online?
Virtually.
Online.
Online, okay, I'll ask my question.
Any other commissioners have questions? McLaughlin, Commissioner McLaughlin?
I
No.
mean, Alberta, you can ask a question online.
Beg your pardon?
Alberta, you had a
Well,
question.
we haven't asked the applicant to appear as yet. I do have a question of staff, and that is that, Martha Lane, if my memory is correct, that address would be over by King Street, which is just south of, that would be south of 17th and west of the, certainly well west of the college. Isn't that the area where it came from?
You might know better than I. 1501 North Martha, or I'm not sure if it's Martha
Lane.
Lane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's over in that vicinity. My question is, this qualifies even though it's been moved a number of blocks from where it was?
The setting certainly is part of the qualification merits for it, but the commission or the consultant took that into consideration and recommended that it would be eligible for listing, at least as contributive for architectural and for the kind of contribution to the neighborhood after it was relocated.
Yeah, because it's got to be, I mean, that's a good half a mile from where it was. Yeah. Okay. I have no further questions. Public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
The applicant is speaking via Zoom. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. My name is Wendy Blaylock. We purchased this home in 2016 after looking for about 3 years, making multiple offers on multiple properties. So I'm pretty certain by the time we got this house, our real estate broker didn't make any money on us. But we fell in love with the simple architecture, the character of the home. There's tremendous character in the interior as well. And we just really are enjoying our time living here and wanting to preserve it.
Okay. Are there any questions of the applicant by commissioners? Commissioner Christie, yes?
Hi, Ms. Blaylock, how are you? You have,
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
Is your mic on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
A little better.
Okay, I'll pull it up. Okay. It's a beautiful home. And the only question I have is that this is at 180 coming and looking at the home. But if you reverse it and I'm coming in the opposite direction, your tree. it has really, if I'm looking at that, the first thing I see is your house. I'm sorry, is that tree. I do not see the side portion of the house, which, you know, it's that pivotal point where you have the roof and everything. It needs to not obstruct the view because we have to look at it at all sides. They took it from one side, you know, to show it, but if you're coming in the opposite direction, you cannot see the whole house on that side, and especially the architectural design on that. So are, you know, are you opposed to cutting back that tree so it does not obstruct the view corridor?
Are you speaking specifically about the maple tree that is up against the home, or are you also speaking about the grouping birch trees?
I don't know. What's the big green one?
Well, there's a maple tree that's right up against
Not
the
the maple
front
tree.
side of the
Yeah,
house.
it's
We are more than happy to remove that.
the big green one is what we're looking at. Yeah, see the green one?
Oh,
It's like really, it's really bushed out and creeped over. And if I'm coming this way, it obscures everything. The whole side view of the house. And
I'm more than happy to remove the maple that's right up against the house. And as far as the birch trees go, would it be possible to just trim those back?
that's what we want, okay?
That's not a problem.
Yeah, the maple, you might just want to coat it back. It's not, but it will eventually obscure, you know, especially when you have the windows there at the angle. And
Well, you're giving me a good reason to remove it.
okay, whatever you want to do. But I'm talking about the big green tree. That really needs to be cut back because of the fact that, you know, to be on our register, all sides of the house have to be visible as for the current corridor.
Okay.
Commissioner, if I could recommend that you allow the applicant to work with staff to trim back the tree and not remove any of the
Absolutely.
trees.
I think she said she would do that.
Thank you.
And then two, could we take once mark, you know, a date you go back and update the picture of the house or register with that? Because it's a beautiful home. It's a beautiful architectural design. And we want to see the thing. Okay. Thank you, Delaney Law.
Are there any other questions of the applicant? Okay. Madam, you know, in the tree trimming world, there's a term called lacing out. And I think maybe that's all you need to do. You don't need to cut a tree down, but if it's just laced out so you can see through it easily, I think that would accomplish what Commissioner Christie is after. All right, so we have no further questions from the commission of the applicant. We will now take comments from the public. Madam Secretary, do we have any members of the public that would like to comment?
For the record, we have not received written communications as well.
Oh, okay, sorry.
If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Does the commission have any final questions of staff? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to approve this matter and a second?
I'll make a motion to approve the Historic Resources Commission application 202219 and Historic Register categorization 2022-111. And recommend the city council authorize the city manager and the clerk of the council to execute the attached bills after agreement with Mark Wendy Blaylock, subject to non-substantive changes approved by the city manager and city attorney.
We have a second by Alberta Christie. All right, Madam Secretary, please call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Approve.
Commissioner Christie. Commissioner Cornelius,
Aye.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Peña Sarmiento, Commissioner Ship, Vice Chair Marashi,
Approve.
Chair Rush.
Aye.
Motion approved by majority with commission members Peña Sarmiento and Ship absent.
All right, this is the time and place to consider item number 6. Congratulations, by the way. Thank you.
Just to let them know, we're clapping.
Okay, this is the time and place to consider item number 6, Historic Resources Commission application number 2022-20, Historic Register categorization number 2022-10, and Historic Property Preservation Agreement 2022-13 for the property located at 2222 North Ross Street. Please note, decision on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 calendar days. Recommendation on this matter will be forwarded to the City Council for final determination. Before we begin, do we have any commissioners who have anything they wish to disclose with regards to this item? Alberta?
Commissioner Marashi and I also visited, and we did not have any contact with the homeowners.
Anyone else? I also drove past the property, did not speak with the homeowner. All right, Pedro Gomez will now provide a brief presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner, Chair. The last item on tonight's agenda is a request to place the property address as 2222 North Ross Street on the register and to execute a Mills Act agreement with the property owner. The William T. Elliott House is architecturally significant as a characteristic example of the gable and wing variant of the minimal traditional architectural style. The house was originally constructed in 1940 and was valued at approximately $4,000, according to the original building permit. In 1941, the home was purchased by William T. Elliott and his wife Esther May Elliott. William was a business professor at Santa Ana Junior College for many decades and was specifically involved in Santa Ana and various clubs and organizations. William remained the first and longest continuous owner of the property until the 1980s. The William T. Elliott House qualifies for listing in the Santa Ana Register under Criterion 1 for its exemplification of the gable and wing variant of the minimal traditional style. The recommended categorization of contributive is because it contributes to the overall character and history of Floral Park, and it's a representative example of the minimal traditional architecture. Character defining features of the house that should be preserved include the stucco and siding, the massing and roof configuration and treatment, especially the 3 tiers of the nested gables over the front gabled wing, and that's this nested gables. The porch with the lacy wrought iron porch supports, the brick chimney, bay window with brick base and standing seam roof, the fenestration, and the architectural detailing. Staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution to approve HRCA 2022-20, HRC 2022-10, and recommend that the city council authorize HPPA 2022-13. That concludes staff's presentation. And I did want to note that the applicant is not present in person. I don't know if there's Eric. Okay, perfect. He's virtually.
All right, does the commission have any questions of staff? Okay. Have we received any written communication?
We have not received written communication, Chair.
Okay. The public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter? I presume via Zoom.
Can you hear me?
Huh?
This is Eric.
Applicant online?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, speak up, sir.
Very good. Yep, my name is Eric. And as you might imagine, I've lived in a couple of different countries where we've got lots of different Tudor homes. So I was very excited to find a historical home that wasn't a Tudor home, an American classic instead. We moved into this house 4 years ago now, and we very much love it. It's kind of an oxymoron, I guess, to want to leave a country that's got much older homes than what we have in Floral Park, and yet still want to live in a historical neighborhood that preserves some of the older traditions. As you can see in the house, we've got everything original. All the windows are original. They are in functioning condition. We've taken great care to make sure that they're all restored and properly functioning. Have done almost nothing to the exterior. Even the color of the house was actually chosen before we purchased it. But while I had reservations about it initially, I found out later on that it was chosen from a color palette that existed by the original builder at the time. So it is apparently within the historical context of color choices. So we'll keep it for now, even though it keeps the house quite warm. I do think it gives it some contrast and appeal. As far as landscaping, haven't done anything of great significance. I've added 2 trees of ginkgos, which I think you can only see one of them in the photo. And yeah, we hope to kind of stick around here for a little bit and just love the neighborhood and continue to preserve the tradition of this kind of unique American classic in this neighborhood.
Okay. Does the commission have any questions of the applicant? Alberta?
Are you from England?
Yeah, so my dad's English and Spanish. My mom's American, Indian, and Mexican.
Oh, my goodness, on that, you know, my heartfelt condolences to the country on the passing of a major world figure of Queen Elizabeth at 96 years of age. Unbelievable that, you know, to your country. So you came here and, you know, referencing that, you know, I said it has to be from England when he's talking about older homes and coming. So we're so happy that you chose here. Was this the first time you've been into City of Santa Ana?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of a strange situation. I first arrived in New York and then LA and then came here, and my partner's from Orange County and wanted to return to Orange County. And I'd had quite a bit of business dealings down here and was not a fan because my concept of Orange County was really Irvine. And so I made a deal and said, okay, we can do that as long as I get to pick where. And the first thing I did was Google historical homes in Orange County. And of course, Floral Park comes up. And as soon as it came up, I was like, yeah, that's where we're going to call home next. And you know, for the blessings of many people, including our real estate agent, we were able to make that dream come true. So it's nice to be here.
Nice to have you. And it is a beautiful home.
Thank you.
Even the color, I mean, it hits you at first, but then it warms you. It really come on. It adds that distinctive look and emphasize or highlights the features of the home quite prominently. So welcome.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Are there any other questions of the applicant? Alberta, you don't want any trees trimmed here?
Oh, geez.
No, but I
Huh?
do have, when we bring it back, I might have a surprise for.
I'm going to get you an axe. It's a good idea. Yeah, you gotta have
For Eric
one.
Dominguez, I might have a surprise for you when it comes to our comments.
All right. Okay, Madam Secretary, do we have any members of the public that would like to speak or comment?
If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Okay, all right. Does the commission have any final questions of staff? Yes, Alberta.
Not questions, but comments and so forth. Number one, you went over very quickly Santa Ana Junior College there, okay? Santa Ana College has been here for over 100 years, okay? And Mr. Elliott, the homeowner, Mr. Elliott, yeah, that's right. It's one of the prominent professors at our college. And if you look at that, he has been teaching the business courses over at that college for decades. Do you know how many famous alumni Santa Ana College have of Captain of Industry? Even our Hall of Famer, athletic Hall of Famers are many ones that went through the business college over at Santa Ana and have proceeded on to be members of that very famous college. Santa Ana College right now is over 100 years old. In addition to that, out of 115 colleges, we're number 2 in the state for education due to our educational staff. And I would like, as that connection with one of our prominent professors at the college, move it up from contributed to key, because he has helped in building the educational reputation that Santa Ana College has today. Even to the point that Modern Day is taking dual classes at Santa Ana College, and the governor has awarded national recognition to us. Would you agree, Mark?
That's a motion. I'll second it.
I agree that the gentleman is a prominent professor and everything else. What I don't support is that we're making decisions as to whether it's a landmark, contributing or a key property based on that one element. Yet there's many, to me, staff has gone through and should have discovered all of the elements that determine that it is a contributive piece of property. And for us here to just say, hey, I'd like it to be this instead of this, I don't think we've done enough research, or we're saying we don't agree with the research that the staff has done. We don't agree that it should be, it's key, or it should be key instead of contributing.
We have done this many times with people in the past. And one of the things as key is a prominent person living in that house that reflects the history of Santa Ana. And would you not agree that this person is prominent and has helped build the Santa Ana College to its reputation?
I agree that, I mean, we've done many houses in this city on the basis of who lived there or who built it, that type of stuff. I understand that. But for us to make that decision and say we don't agree with staff, that's where I'm saying staff has done what they should be doing and researching every detail of this. And if we said, let's put in that professor's name and say we want that included, that may still not make it key. It may remain contributed.
Let me give you an example. Several years ago, whose house came on? Dr. Sammy Lee. It was contributed. We moved it up to key because of the reputation of Dr. Sammy Lee in West Floral Park.
I understand.
Okay, so we do have that right to come in because staff doesn't know all of our historic figures. We do. We know the importance of the people who have moved this city forward, and especially in the educational field. To be prominent as Santa Ana College is with, as our faculty staff is well recognized. Okay, we have that little jewel that's there. And remember, this is business, okay? We're number 2 throughout the state. And who brought us to that is the recognition of the educational staff that we have and the quality of education that we have been given for over 100 years. And our resident, Mr. Elliott, who's lived here, has contributed that. And what greater honor can you not recognize his accomplishment in moving us to that level than to move it up to Key to recognize him? Okay.
Right, so can we call the question on whether to move the
I
designation
don't
to
think
Key?
We haven't done.
Well, first, wouldn't we, Mr. City Attorney, wouldn't someone have to make a motion that to approve this by elevating that? And I would like to offer a substitute motion, if I may, or not even a new motion, and that would be, we don't know enough about, and I don't know anything about Mr. Elliott. I have nothing against him or for him per se, but, and if he was prolific in his teaching and writing of books and so forth, I would say, great. I think there is a distinction between Dr. Sammy Lee and this gentleman, at least what little I know, and that is that the other, Dr. Sammy Lee had an international reputation. I'm not aware of any such designation for Mr. Elliott. Now, maybe he does. And if that's the case, then my motion would be, let's postpone this to the next meeting. In the meantime, we'll do some research about Mr. Elliott. That would be my motion to postpone it.
Well, as a foundation board member at Santa Ana College, and Mark is a foundation board member of Santa Ana College, we know our teaching staff. I'm just disclosing that I'm a foundation board member at Santa Ana
Okay.
College, so we know who our staff and reputation. I just want to throw that in.
Well, we don't, but today, we don't have any, because this is something new, it's been brought into this discussion. We don't have any background about Mr. Elliott and he was a professor there for 50 years. Okay, beyond that, we don't know anything about him as a professor. I'm not maligning Mr. Elliott. I'm just saying that not every property that had an occupant that taught at Santa Ana College is, I think, the same elevated status as Dr. Sammy Lee, who was internationally known. Is that a fair statement?
Well, he was internationally on.
Yes.
No,
So,
for sure. I mean, he was an Olympic diving.
he was an Olympic diving champion. I'm not taking anything away. I don't know Professor Elliott from Adam's cat. But if he is that prolific, then his resume will speak for itself. Let's postpone the vote.
Chair, if I may, before the commission decides what they would like to do with this item, I do want to remind the commission that there is a deadline that we have for filing of potential Mills Act considerations. If we were to postpone this to November, we don't believe that they would be able to meet that deadline were the commission to recommend entering into an agreement with the Mills Act property owner. Just something to consider. So delaying the item tonight could delay Mills Act for a potential a year for the property owner.
All right. Okay, so do we have a motion to approve this?
Commissioner Chair, could I ask a quick question? Sorry, we got reverb here. What's the difference, honestly, by naming it one or the other? I mean, is there any substantive change for anybody in this? Or is this just more of a honor for Mr. Elliott?
I believe it's kind of what the commission would like the house to represent, right? So if one of the commissioners believes that this should be a key category because of the significance associated to the person, the commissioner can request to update the categorization in terms of key difference. Again, it doesn't make any difference to the historic property. It's still historic. It still has to abide by the same historic elements. It still would be eligible for Mills Act. It would be the commission deciding what level of significance we would give it.
And a follow-up question then, do you have any research on Mr. Elliott besides what was presented here? Anything that stands out to you?
Besides what was presented, I don't.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah. Commissioner Hardy?
Thank you. So if we move forward and the property is contributed, is there a process to go back or to move forward or to elevate the categorization in the future?
Chair, for the record, the applicant is also available for comment. He's raising his hand if you would like to speak with him.
Mr. City Attorney, I'm just getting a message on my phone here that Dylan Almendrall, who's a member of the public and was the fellow who prepared the application for Floral Park to become a historic neighborhood, apparently wishes to speak. I know that we closed the public hearing, or did we not?
We did not close the meeting or close the hearing.
We
yet.
didn't.
We did
Okay,
not.
so can we let Mr. Almendrall speak? Maybe he can enlighten us further.
Mr. Almendahl can always call in to the.
He's apparently
information,
on the, he's,
and
is he?
the
He says
public-
he's on the
The
call.
public hearing is still open.
The public hearing is still open. We did open up for comment. At the time we waited, there was no comments available, but as discussion has progressed, we didn't close the hearing and now we have comments wanting to come in.
Mr. Chair, would be appropriate at this time then is to allow any additional speaker to speak on the matter.
Okay, anyone that would like to speak here in person or via Zoom or on the call, please do so now. Dylan?
Hear me? I have a perception on this end. So there's a question as to the history of Professor Elliott, correct? Is that what I'm?
Yes.
So at Santa Ana College for well over 20 during World War II. He the business at SAC. To Santa Ana, pull up my documentation. Santa Ana in the early and began. He was in that job. It's him being a notable person, and I mean, as a form, not to divide when other teachers that were at SAC, that also lived in Square, French Park. It's really not. I would not plea other teachers, even though he was tenured over 20 years in makes any sense. So if there's any spur about his history, I pulled historical as well as newspaper clippings, his World II records. And I wrote up the summary, which would today.
I guess the question, Dylan, is this someone who you believe is of high stature? I mean, being a tenured professor is one thing at a community college, but is he an example? We're making the distinction that another property was elevated because of Dr. Sammy Lee, who had an international reputation as an Olympic diving champion. Not to say that Mr. Elliott has to be a diving champion, but you get the point.
And to say, so pulling all of for this application, I would compare Professor Jenny Tessman, who lived in Riverside Drive. She taught at Santa Ana College from 13 to 1946. Newspapers a lot. She was more civically active than any of the other women in the city. Behavior or legacy or stature, Professor Elliott. Yes, he was a long-standing member of the committee. I don't see him leaving a mark that is visible today as it would be for the Tessman Planetarium was named after her. So that's a sin for two Senate there at the same time.
Speaker, your 3 minutes is up.
Done.
Can you conclude your remarks? Wrap them up, Dylan?
The reception is not good for me. Lag on both of our ends.
It isn't good for us either, just saying.
It might be the heat actually. But I really want to see this. It's a wonderful example. The nesting of the roof line is something you don't see. So that's all I have to.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Almondral. Okay. Do we have any written comments on this? Madam Secretary?
The applicant is available for comment. I would
All
ask
right,
the applicant to unmute themselves.
Yeah, so if I may, my only thoughts to this is as Peter has suggested, I am sensitive to the nature of applying to the Mills Act, so that would be of importance to me.
Okay.
Additionally, if it makes a difference, as I don't understand, at least in great depth, the significance of the different characterizations between contributory, key, and landmark. I think the way in which I would understand the public's exposure to anyone who lived in the house would be to have it on a plaque, as I think that typically most people would not know anything about the house unless they drove by the house. It's unlikely that anyone would look into record to find out the significance of something, as opposed to just being physically present and being able to read it. So if there's a compromise in these things, I would say let's add perhaps additional wordage onto some type of plaque that can be mounted onto the house to denote that, but not necessarily try and elevate Elliott to a world-class person, which, at least based on my conversations with Dylan, don't seem to be there. In fact, most of what I know about the house is that it was a party house for his wife. And that's not necessarily something that reflects me very much, unfortunately. I'm too boring for that. But I think it's still kind of that meets that halfway point, if that's appeases everybody.
Chair, if I may,
Okay.
just a couple of points for consideration. Hopefully this helps make your decision easier. The Jenny Tessman house was listed as key. And as Dylan mentioned, she had more of an international, I guess, she was much more known internationally for
Reputation.
contributions, correct? Again, I don't know enough about Mr. Elliott, but my recommendation would be to proceed with the recommendation as proposed tonight. And if further information were to come to light, we'd be happy to kind of consider that and bring that to the commission's consideration at a later public hearing.
Okay.
Can I-
All right.
can I just-
Yes, Commissioner McLaughlin.
I mean, that's something that we have done in the past with regards to other homes. I mean, we've got multiple names on those homes at this point in time. Is that correct?
The homes have been named with multiple names
Yeah.
because maybe there's one or two persons of significance, but this is much more of an issue, I think, of the categorization, contributed versus key. I don't know if that the William T. Elliott name would change much. It's just what his contributions are. And I think that's more research that we would need to do.
I mean, down the street from Ross Street to on 19th is a home that came in and it was, the one owner was from the 30s and the other owner was Mike Ness, who was a, hard rock band, but that house got named the Ness home. And the owner of the house at the time that was submitting for Millsack basically asked to have that removed. So, I mean, because it was deemed what's so historic about what happened in the 80s.
I think there's precedent for that. It should just probably be at a public hearing,
Yeah.
right? So.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other comments by the commission or the public?
Yes, Chair. My concern is I don't want to see these people denied the right to get on now, as you pointed out, Pedro. If we delay it, then they're probably going to miss the window. I personally don't want to see that happen to them. Mr. Elliott might have been a great guy. No disparaging him at all. And will his name be on that plaque? Will it be known as the William Elliott House?
Yeah,
correct.
In my mind, I think that's significant enough. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from the commissioners? Oh, Janelle? Yes.
Well, I just think that the house is named after Mr. Elliott, and it's been brought to light that we can in the future, if we gather more information, that we could elevate the property to key if it was so deserving for any historic reason. Never mind also including Mr. Elliott's reputation or achievements. Anyway, that's good news.
Okay. Are there any other comments from the commission? Okay. I think now we're going to call the public hearing closed. Correct? And any other questions of staff by the commission? No? Okay. Is there a motion to approve this matter in a second?
Motion to adopt the resolution to approve HRCA number 2022-20 and HRC 2022-20. Did I get that right? And recommend the city council authorize HPP number 22-13.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Madam Secretary, did you get that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the second, please?
Well, McLaughlin or
It doesn't,
Yeah.
whatever you want.
Mark McLaughlin, second. And Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Carpenter,
Approve.
Commissioner Christie, Commissioner Cornelius,
Aye.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Peña Sarmiento, Commissioner Ship, Vice Chair Marashi, Chair Rush.
Aye. Okay, this
Motion-
concludes the public hearings. Moving on to administrative.
For the record, motion has been approved
What?
with commission members Ship, Peña Sarmiento, and Vice Chair Marashi absent.
All right, congratulations, sir.
Congratulations, Dominga.
All right, this concludes the public hearings. Moving on to administrative matters. Before we begin, have we received any written communication, or is there a member of the public that would like to comment on this item?
We have not received written communication. If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Okay, thank you. The business under the administrative matters is the election of officers for the Historic Resources Commission for the 2022-2023 term. We will first take up the selection of chairperson for the 2022-2023 term. The floor is now open for nominations for chairperson. If
I would like to make a nomination.
Yeah.
Appropriate. I'd like to nominate Chair Rush to continue into the next term. That's my nomination.
All right, are there any other nominations?
I'd like to also nominate Chair Rush.
Okay. All right,
Make a motion to nominate Chair Rush.
okay. We're going to take a vote here in a second. But thank you for the votes of confidence. And now, do we do this one by one, or are we going to vote for both the chair and the vice chair?
Correct. You'll do chair first and then vice chair would be the
Okay,
secondary.
all right.
vote.
Are there any other nominations?
So we have three, do we have a second? We need a second at this point. in time.
So this won't be done by traditional motion. You'll take the nominations, and then if there are, once the nominations are closed, then there will be a vote on the nominee.
Okay, so Madam Secretary, please call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Carpenter?
We're approving Chair Rush, correct? Is that what-
Correct.
I approve.
Commissioner Christie?
Yes.
Commissioner Cornelius?
Aye.
Commissioner Hardy?
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Peña Sarmiento? Commissioner Ship? Vice Chair Marashi? Chair Rush?
Aye. Okay, so with a new chairperson will remain as myself, Tim Rush, effective at the following meeting, November the 3rd, 2022. We'll now take up the selection of vice chair for the 2022-2023 term. The floor is now open for nominations for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Ed Marashi.
I second.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Okay, all right, Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Christie?
Yes.
Commissioner Cornelius?
Aye.
Commissioner Hardy?
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Peña Sarmiento? Commissioner Ship? Vice Chair Marashi? Chair Rush?
Aye. Okay, all right, so the new vice chair, or not new, but our continuing vice chair for the next year will be starting November 3rd. Excuse me, Ed Marashi. We hope that's okay with you, Ed, wherever you are out there in the Zoom world. Huh?
You went off.
Yeah, I suspect so. Okay, this concludes administrative matters. Moving on to staff comments. Staff, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say congratulations to Chair Rush as well as Vice Chair Marashi. Look forward to working with you in the upcoming year. And again, welcome to Commissioner Cornelius. At this point in time, our senior planner, Pedro Gomez, does have a brief follow-up comment.
Thank you, Director Tai. I wanted to provide just a quick overview of or summary of the status of staff and the memo that were to be provided to the HRC. If you recall at the last meeting, July, the chair mentioned that we'd like to try to get some more information about expanding our chapter 30. And so while staff was prepared to provide a memo of kind of the implementation measures outlined in the general plan and what we've done so far, we want to append to that memo to add more of the information that Chair Rush was requesting, especially because it takes some time to do research what other cities are doing with their historic elements. So we'd like to try to come back in November to provide that memo. And at that meeting, you should have a copy of the draft memo. We'll request comments from the commission, and then we can revise that come the first meeting of 2023, and then hopefully move that forward to the council for consideration. Second update for you is we've gotten some interest from the commissioners about getting more information in regards to historic exterior modification applications, what goes into the review. So we'd like to try to work with our own staff to provide a workshop to the commission in November, since it should be a little bit lighter of an agenda. To go over some of those questions that the commission had, for example, today, you know, what constitutes appropriate design if you're supposed to replicate the exact design or more consistent but different. So that's just an update from staff.
All right. Comments from the commissioners. I'll start to my right with Commissioner Carpenter.
Yeah, I think it's great that we're gonna have that review. I would find it personally extremely helpful as to what is permissible and applicable, and I think it's gonna help us all. Thank you for that.
I want to welcome Commissioner Cornelius. How are you? All I can think of is Don, so trained. Cornelius. I'm that error. Okay, forgive me. But I've got a question for staff. Okay, so the newer homes that we brought on for historic register are getting plaques. They're buying plaques, or is it for everyone? Are all of our being offered to put plaques to designate these as historic homes?
No, it's actually more recent. I think within the last year or year and a half, at least, the commission revised the ordinance to allow the commission to add conditions of approval to these. And so the conditions of approval that we've been adding to the new listings is that they provide a plaque for the historic property. So it's really only been the last year, year and a half. It is a voluntary program. Previous to that, though, there was a period of time that the city subsidized it and was giving monies out to homeowners to purchase the plaques. It's not subsidized currently, but it is a condition of approval on the listings as of a year ago, I would say.
Okay, have we reached out to the ones previous to, you know, even though it's voluntary, it does add a little prestige to the home as far as how much are plaques anyway? Can we put it in the budget?
No, but as part of the program and as part of our upcoming discussion on how we audit the Mills Act process as well, we will use that process to encourage the older designated home to also include plaques on their property. And as part of that review process, we may have some areas where we can have strong encouragement, but Pedro is correct. This condition was put on as part of the recent update that we worked through with the commission. And moving forward, we will have that conditions, but we will work to strongly encourage past designation to participate as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and thanks staff for all the work. And Christine, you're back with us. You're taking Sarah's place?
No, I will be acting recording secretary along with Kelly.
So it's Chelsea Schaefer and Kelly.
Hi. Oh,
Kelly Arcadia.
hi, nice to meet you. That's all I have to say.
It was a pleasure to meet everybody. It's my pleasure to serve on the commission, with fellow commissioners, and I look forward, as I said, look forward to what we do.
Okay, Commissioner McLaughlin.
I just want to welcome a new member here. Look forward to working with you. I think I really, at this point in time, I have not a whole lot. I think that one of the things that I'd like to just make sure that we do, maybe it's something that we do to enhance the process of identifying these properties in some way from.
Mark, we can't hear you.
Oh, I'm just saying that maybe we need to do a little more due diligence on designations and figure out, how we can make sure that this is something when it comes to the HRC, it's pretty much, it should be understood as we've gone out and reckoned with everything. We've done everything we have to do to make sure that what we have as our database works. The other thing is, we have a November meeting coming up. How many, just out of curiosity, how many Mills Act contracts have we produced year to date? And how many do we expect to see in November?
In November, just to answer the second question, we have about 4 inquiries, but mind you, not all of those go through. It's based on kind of when we evaluate. So I'd say maybe 3 could potentially be as new in November. And to date, I believe maybe about 18 or so, maybe as much as 20. We average about maybe four listings a meeting. So we're up there. Guys
It's
keep us
interesting.
busy.
Just hearing those numbers, it's interesting because in the past, the numbers have been in the 30s and 40s as far as what we've done, as far as a Mills Act contract for a given year. And, we've got the reduced fees, and I just wonder whether or not we're, shall we say, marketing the program so that people can become aware of what is a possibility that they could turn their house into historic designation. Is this something we might want to think about and see how we would try to enhance the program in the future so that we could get more homes on the register? I mean, like I said, it used to be 30. In fact, I think 1 or 2 years we were at 60 and 70 because of the lower rates and everything else. And that hasn't changed from a budgetary standpoint other than the COLA. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So I'd like to propose that we take a little bit of a look at how we can market the program.
Commissioner Hardy.
Yes, I'd like to welcome our new commissioner, and I noticed you jumped right in, got involved. Thank you for that. I was, although I wasn't, didn't attend the last meeting. I was very happy to see that there was a work study session at the 7/7/2022 HRC meeting. And now I'm hearing that that we are going to be able to possibly preview the accessory structures and settings under the HRC jurisdiction. So I just want to let you know that I'm very happy about that. That's good news. The Historic Preservation Awards, we need to I want to inquire, we as a group, we need to inquire where we're at, are we going to be able to have some sort of a work study or discussion before the deadline for this year? Because, back when the Historic Resources Review Committee, before the HRC, that was part of the whole movement, was to have annual preservation awards. And once again, they've gone by the wayside. and we need to pick up the pace. I mean, there's got to be properties that can be recognized, and part of the problem, once again, is a marketing issue. People don't know how, when, where, why they can nominate. And, you know, Floral Park should be right up there now, you know, filling our nominations to be able to look at and select some. So that's another area of concern. Then the historic Cypress Fire Station. I think we're going to be able to see some movement on that pretty soon. Citywide design guidelines. How many of our commissioners are aware of this document? You can download it online very easily, very easy to read. I'm sure staff would provide you a hard copy. And it says, and I'm referring to what we should be able to look at with the historic fire station, Cypress Fire Station in the very near future, since it's been saved and they're looking at a tenant. These citywide design guidelines, in chapter 13, it discusses historic structure guidelines. There's 37 pages of discussion about historic structures. These are some excerpts to provide guidelines and illustrations necessary to maintain the fabric of Santa Ana's historic and architectural resources. And then another bit of information from the chapter 13 is to oversee the register, Santa Ana's historic structure register. The city formed the Historic Resources Commission, HRC. All exterior modifications, including repairs, rehabilitation, restoration, and additions to these structures require review and approval by the HRC. So we will be seeing in front of us the proposals, and in addition, any building permit requirements. So I just want to let it be known out there, you see any exterior changes at the historic Cypress Fire Station, you know, you need to like report that, because we need to be looking at all that before it occurs. So, all right. So, and then the plaque program, yes, we need to keep that on the front burner too. Marketing, even if it's a flyer out to all the properties on the register saying, look, this is available to you. This is the process. This is the application. All the plaques need to look this way, and you have to purchase it yourself. That's your option. And you know, it's just kind of all under the carpet. Nobody knows these things. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Janelle. Yes, I too would like to welcome our new commissioner, Cornelius, to our group, and we look forward to your participation. If the future is anything like your first meeting, well, I'm sure it'll be quite robust. Tell us now, you're here as you're representative from Community Development Commission, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And if I may ask, tell us what do you do? What's your claim to fame?
I'm an attorney.
Okay.
I
We
work
won't hold that against you.
I work with the low income community and reentry and housing in those areas.
Mhm.
And longtime resident of Santa Ana. My parents live down Birch Street, and I don't think it's a historic house, but now I'm on commission, and I'm gonna work with them to get it designated. That's one of the reasons they moved there. So it was built like in 1918 or something like that.
Well, yeah,
And they've been there
it's
since 99.
it's already had its 100th birthday.
Yeah, and and then I went to MacArthur, and yeah, so happy to serve. the
What
city.
100 block of Birch?
707.
They're in Henniger Park. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
707 South Birch.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they're in
Yeah.
Henniger Park. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, my mom would. Yeah, they'll
Okay.
love that. So.
How about that? That's great.
conflict of interest, I guess, but yeah.
Well, congratulations on joining our group. We're glad to have a full complement. And I want to congratulate all the homeowners who, of course, they're all sipping a margarita right now, trying to stay cool. We can't blame them for that. One thing I want to bring to your attention, and that is that you're probably all familiar with the Federal Historic Tax Credit Program. And there's also a state historic tax credit program. The state program was boosted up to 20%. The federal tax credit program is currently 20%. There's a movement afoot to increase it to 30% in HR 2294. And I participated in a Zoom call the other day with the Preservation Action Network and the executive director of Preserve Orange County, which I'm on the board of. And we're trying to engage Congressman Lou Correa's office to be a co-sponsor of the bill. And so I would encourage any of you that may be inclined to send an email to Lou and ask him to please be a co-sponsor of HR 2294. The Federal Historic Tax Credit Program needs some tuning up and reworking. The last time it was used in Orange County, the entire county, was nearly 23 years ago. And guess which building? The old City Hall. So anyway, I'm actually proposing that the YMCA and the Rankin building would be two great candidates for a redo utilizing that, revised program. Anyway, also, if I could ask staff to look into, I think it's 801 North Main, which we put on the registers, I don't know, now been, pick a number, 2 years ago or something. And you may recall that we gently asked the developer, Mike Hara, and his representative who was here, William Bobo, to install a bronze plaque in the lobby honoring the legacy of Welton Beckett, the architect, and the style of architecture, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they agreed to do that. I've had several conversations with both Mike and with William Bobo to do that. And, I've sent them all the verbiage. We wrote it up. He's got it. All I got to do is push the button, order the plaque. The last I knew it was ordered, but somewhere it must be stuck on a boat from China. So I'm certain that a nudge from you, Pedro, or you, Executive Director Mintai, would encourage that boat to be offloaded. So if you do that, I appreciate it. Also, some of you might watch for soon. There is to be a 6 or 7 foot tall wrought iron fence to go around the Dr. Hal Waffle House, which of course will be in keeping with the architecture of the house, but to protect the house right there at the edge of the sidewalk all the way around the perimeter, including the parking lot, because they've had numerous break-ins, and the city paid for that through Biden bucks or whatever. So anyway, so thank you to the city for doing that, but look for that improvement at the Dr. Hal Waffle House. Also, all of you know that I have done for years a downtown architectural walking tour through Preserve Orange County. We're now expanding that to a walking tour of French Park, which will kick off in either October or November, I forget. And we're also we have one in the works for Floral Park. So I just share that with, if you go to the Preserve Orange County website, you can read all about it. So tickets for sale, etc. So that's all I have. Is there anything else to come before us?
Do you have any information from OC Preserve with regards to that bill, the federal bill? What they're taking their position on, so that, if you wanted to pass it on to somebody like Luke.
You're talking about HR 2294? Yeah. I'll get some for you. Yes. I'll get some for you. You mean exactly the mechanics of how it's being changed? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I mean, OC Preserve has said that we.
You
need
mean
to
Preserve Orange County?
Preserve Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
Preserve Orange County has said that they want to, support changing the document.
Right.
Right? You're asking for Korea to be.
To be a
one.
co-sponsor, right?
And so I'm just saying, do you have the date? Do we have what was taken as a position paper?
I'll get you one on that. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll get it for you. Yeah, and I'll send it to you, Executive Director Mintai. You can put it out to the commissioners, okay? So anyway, is there anything else to come before us? If not, well, I'll call us in adjournment to November the 3rd, 2022. And I guess in the meantime, have a safe Halloween and Dia de los Muertos. Okay. And thank you for your votes.